Hello and welcome back to Only a Bag, the guide to Italian travel. I'm Nathaniel Malor.
And I'm Darcy Melton.
We actually lied to y'all. It has not been like a second later. We did take a 5-minute break. We took a little walk, had some water, walk around the house. Not like, we're not monsters. We don't walk outside.
What does that mean?
I don't know. People think we had a little walk like in the neighborhood.
Oh, no. I mean, we do that sometimes, but we did not do that just now.
No.
Okay.
But we are back, and we are here to talk about one thing and one thing only, with no detours whatsoever, by anybody else with their name resembling Nathaniel, and that is the history of Ferragosto. What? I've already messed it up. The history of Ferragosto, as presented by Darcy Melton. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited.
Thank you for that lovely intro, Nathaniel.
You're welcome.
So in our last episode, we talked about the practicalities of Ferragosto, which is the August holiday, essentially, August vacation. And now we're going to talk about the history. One thing that Nathaniel and I were debating off mic momentarily is, okay, so like when this is somewhat of a practicality, shops, when they're closed for Ferragosto, they might say chiuso per Ferragosto, meaning closed for Ferragosto, the holiday. They might also say chiuso per ferie, which will lead us into some history momentarily. And that means closed for the holiday, closed for vacation, closed for the festival. They are closed for something fun.
And sometimes, though, they'll have dates, but not always.
That's true, which is very helpful.
It is, because sometimes it's like, they'll send like August 14th to September 23rd, and you're like, where are you going for 5 weeks? I think it's like art supplies. There was one time we couldn't get art supplies.
Oh, yeah. That was rough.
I need you to come back and open the door, please. So, because they don't tell you ahead of time. There's no like a sign. It's not like in America, or every other country, but I imagine I'm comparing this to America, where they have a little thing. Oh, just to let you know, next week we're actually going to be closed for a week.
Some of them will.
Yes.
But
95% of them will not.
Yes.
You just wake up one morning and go to your favorite cafe, having one last croissant or cornetto.
I know, right?
Cafe.
Where are you, Nathaniel?
France, ideally. Hopefully France. And you get there only to find out that your favorite cafe is closed without any warning.
Per ferie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which apparently is holiday and not, I thought it was festival. Because I was like, that's so, I don't know, festive. Oh, we're closed for the festival. We went out of town for the festival. And I'm like, that's so whimsical sounding. We're closed for holidays. Like, ugh.
A holiday's fun, too.
Well, no, it's fun. It's not
less
whimsical, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking festival. Ooh, the festival's come to town. Or the festival. Or, the I don't know. The festival. It's just, yeah.
So let's get into some history.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So ferie, the way you will see it written in Italian on signs, is Ferie. But the Ferragosto actually comes from the Latin Feriae Augusti, which is spelled differently. That's spelled Feriae. So they added in, they didn't add the A in there. The Italians took the A out when it became Italian.
Sounds like they added in before it was even a word. They were figuring it out early.
So Ferragosto was originally called Feriae Augusti, and that's named after Emperor Augustus. For which August is also named.
This guy's killing it. I mean, he's got all sorts
he's got
of
like
things.
all things named after him.
Isn't the Pantheon's dedicated to him?
Is it?
I thought so. I think Augustus is one of the words up there. I don't know if it's the same Augustus or not. Because
Yeah,
what's his face
probably.
is like private temple, and I thought he dedicated to Augustus.
Oh.
Guy's just like racking up like dedications.
I know, right?
We're gonna find he's a terrible person in a minute, aren't we?
No.
Okay.
He's not necessarily a terrible person in this story.
Fantastic.
Okay. So Ferragosto was started by Emperor Augustus in 18 BC. Okay. You're there in your mind?
I'm there so
You're
far. Yeah.
18
Okay,
BC
I can
in your
feel
mind. Okay. We talked about how it comes from the Latin phrase Feriae Augusti, and it was originally celebrated on August 1st, which, if you're listening to this podcast on the day it comes out, is tomorrow. Whoop, whoop.
Good point. And Darcy's birthday is August 2nd. For anybody who wants to wish Darcy a happy birthday in your mind or in a comment, you can do so. I am constantly pushing for the birthday wishes.
So, originally it was on August 1st. And Nathaniel, do you want to guess who moved it to the 15th?
It sounds like Augustus might have moved it to the 15th. No, wait, I know who moved it to the 15th.
Who?
Mussolini.
No.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to make a third guess?
Okay, wow, I already used two. Julius Caesar. It feels like a Caesar thing. Am I 0 for 3?
That was my wrong
Wrong
sound.
buzzer?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Catholic Church
Oh God, how did I guess that was an easy one? It should have been like the Catholic Church.
It's always the Catholic Church moving the holidays.
Yes.
So the Catholic Church, we're going to say collectively, moved the holiday from August the 1st to August the 15th in the 7th century CE. So what is that? 700 years later, something like that. And do you want another question? You want to guess something else? I love this. Well, you kind of already know the answer, but why did they move it to the 15th?
Well, I think if I'm going by the previous episode, the Assumption of Mary.
Ding, ding, ding. Nice, you got that one right. Okay, so they moved it for the Assumption of Mary, which is the day that Catholics believe that Mary was taken up to heaven, body and soul. I think the thing is that I'm not Catholic, sorry y'all. I think they don't say died, but she rose to heaven.
Assumed?
Yes.
Assumpted?
Assumpted.
I'm not really sure. Yeah. Assumed her
I'm not sure how we say
heaven?
that.
I'm not
yes.
sure.
So they moved it so that it would be celebrated on the same day. So that is why these days Ferragosto is on August 15th.
Do you know why? Did you find history on why it was Augustus festival, the Festival Augustus? Why it was the Festival Augustus?
Yes, sort of. So here's the deal. I'm going to say we don't definitively know because there are people saying different things. So there were already 3 different festival days happening in the month of August. So Augustus was just like, let's just do it, y'all.
Makes sense. Yeah. One big holiday. Get them out of the way.
It is a celebration of the end of the harvest. So some people say that it's because he wanted a longer rest period for people. So basically Feriae Augusti means rest of August. So you're taking the rest after a long, grueling harvest season.
Makes sense. Okay.
But
they weren't going to the beach, I assume. That wasn't like on the schedule.
Yeah, not yet. The beach thing comes up much later in history.
Makes sense. Because I think Pompeii was probably before that. I don't know. Because no, Pompeii was later. So they could have been, some of the wealthy people could have been going to Pompeii.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that makes sense.
But all the people who actually did the harvest?
Yeah, they weren't. They didn't have the villas in Pompeii and Herculaneum.
At best, you might be going to like splash around the Tiber, I think.
Yeah, but that'd be fun.
Well, if it's not like totally polluted, I feel like, because I'm also thinking...
It probably wasn't that polluted at that time. Well, I don't
know. Right? You think I don't know what kind of like water maintenance they had, because I'm thinking all the farms upstream might have been tossing like manure into the water.
That's
and
true.
Like, so it might not be the place you want to go. But there's beach, but I don't know if they were swimming back then.
Okay, so another opinion on where it comes from. It comes from this guy named Richard Overy. I don't know if I'm saying
Interesting name for 18 BCE.
Oh no, this guy came later.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so he claims... so he wrote this book called A History of War and 100 Battles. And he claims that Augustus made the holiday after claiming victory over Mark Antony in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. I've only seen that claim from him. So, yeah, maybe. But also maybe it was just because Augustus was kind of... They were using lots of other holidays in order to make a longer vacation. That's what I think it is.
Makes sense. Plus, the end of the harvest is a kind of a big thing, because I know that even in America we have, it's not remotely the same thing, but like the summer is the break, I know, from school, so people can help out with the harvest, but then when it's over, you go back to school. Mm-hmm. So I imagine it's like, having a little break from the harvest kind of makes sense, because working all the time otherwise. And
I'm going to keep it till the end, but I have a kind of possibly off the wall thought about where... I have a question about where, like, other influences into this holiday, but I'm not going to put it in here because it's completely of my own mind. It's not.
I absolutely love that this podcast is turning to Darcy's conspiracy theories about historical festivals.
It really is.
This is fantastic. This is top tier.
Okay, so let's keep going with actual fact.
Sure.
Okay, so that's possibly why Feriae Augusti was started.
And then we have Catholic Church changing it to Assumption of Mary, 15th.
Yes.
Okay.
But now let's go back.
Oh, okay.
So we're back now still in Augustus times, 18 BC.
Okay.
So he's starting this. We've talked about it's because there were like 3 or 4 other holidays around the same time. One of the big holidays, which is where people think that it was the preceder. Is that a word in English?
I don't know.
The preceding holiday.
Yeah.
There were several, like we said, but people claim that the preceding holiday was called Consualia. I think I'm saying that right. That was definitely one of the holidays that they celebrated in August, and it kind of became rolled into Feriae Augusti, which is Ferragosto. Okay, so Consualia was celebrated on August 21st. Well, it's actually 2 holidays, but there was the one on August 21st and one on December 15th. And they were celebrated and dedicated to Consus, who was the god of granaries. He was the protector of grains.
That is really specific. I love it.
I know. So, but that makes sense for harvest, right?
Well, I think like isn't Demeter the goddess of the actual harvest itself?
Probably.
Unless that she's, I mean, pretty sure that's her Greek name.
I don't.
Ceres. There we go. Ceres, because there is that beer named after her in Italy.
Isn't it Ceres?
Ceres. Yeah, okay. Probably. That makes sense. Because we have cereal. It comes from the word. Same thing. I know.
Wow.
I mean, also the breakfast cereal, but I meant like, you know, how like they're like, oh, that's actually a cereal. Like, I don't know, wheat or whatever it is, a cereal. Yeah, it comes from Ceres, which I think is the Roman name for Demeter, who is the goddess of the harvest, agriculture, basically.
Okay, we have to do an episode on her.
Right? But I also like that because there was, I think, some like late cult of her in Greece still. Not currently, but like the cult of Demeter was one of those like, because all those gods had separate cults, and it was one of the ones that had gone like really on.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Obviously people still thankful for the fact that food's growing, so it makes sense. So I like how specific this is. It's not necessarily thankful for the harvest was good. It's thankful that the harvest is in a granary being protected, hopefully.
Yeah, he's pretty specific, Consus. Yeah. Okay, so he's the protector of the grains, known for granaries, and some say supplies, but I think that might be a generic translation. Okay. So let's think grains, harvesty things. Okay, so according to someone named, a very old person, long time ago, named Titus Livy. So Consualia was started by Romulus, the founder of Rome. Page turn.
I love it. And I guess was with Romulus is like the apocryphal founder of Rome, right?
Yes. Thank you for making that distinction. That's how I think of him. I mean, that's how he is, right? He is the apocryphal founder.
Yeah, the mythical founder, like not necessarily a lot of. I think we talked about this at some episode, maybe years ago. But it's how Rome is. There's a term for when a city or country gives itself a mythological history in order to seem more important. And Rome was one of the ones. I think they had something like a lineage of 7 noble kings or something like that never existed. That their histories like basically didn't make sense. We weren't compatible with one another, kind of thing. And it was all to lead to Romulus and Remus. Romulus, I guess, killed Remus and grabbed Rome. And I guess it was Remus's kids went to Siena and started Siena, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
But it's all that kind of apocryphal thing in the sense of like, not only is there no proof, it's just sort of like there's no evidence that like Rome would have been a kingdom before Rome. Like it would have been Latina or Latium, I think at the time. And, it was a kind of a swamp. And then they were like getting really powerful for a swamp. But there was a time where people were I think for Siena, as I just exampled, they were all changing their histories to be more, I don't know. I think you had places like Egypt and China had like in
really
Japan.
Cool histories.
Well, cool histories, but also they were like.
Well, I shouldn't say cool. They were probably very tragic.
I was thinking, but also like the pharaohs and the emperors are all divinely chosen, but Rome did not have that. Like had popes, obviously, but those even still were not divinely chosen. They were chosen by the conclave. So I think that was their attempt to be like, oh no, our emperors are, chosen by the divine, not chosen by humans. Even though they were killing each other and then taking over the throne.
Yeah.
So it was
and they were still, into like Roman history. I was learning about Nero recently, and basically they were just like, yep, he's a god, but he was very much a real person. They were just like, oh, actually he's a god. Yeah. So they were just naming people gods left and right and making up history.
Kind of a great time to be alive if you're going to be trying to be a god. If you're going for godhood, you're like,
yeah. Well,
because right now it seems super difficult
with power and money.
Right, but I'm thinking that's the time. You can't be that today. I don't think anyone's godding each other today, but like back then, super easy.
We do have, I don't know. That's a whole different podcast, I feel like, but we do have godlike figures.
For sure. But I don't know if
we're not saying that they're gods.
Yeah.
Beyonce, great example. I feel like she's goddess-like. A lot of people attribute,
It's like this sort of, it's the women in the sweatshops that I think is what people don't like about her.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm not saying that I treat her like a god, but I'm saying that she does have like a cult behind her.
I see. The Beehive.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's called? The Beehive?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is a great name.
Great name.
Okay, let's get back to...
What are we talking about? Ferragosto? Yes.
We're talking about Ferragosto, and we're talking about Consus, and now we're talking about Romulus. So the story that I'm about to tell you is, as you said, it's going to be an apocryphal story. It is written down as if it is real, but it is what it is. I don't know if it's actually happened, but this is what they say happened. And this is where Ferragosto came from before it was Feriae Augusti. It was...
Consuelia one, or no?
Yes, Consualia.
Consualia.
Oh, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
I
I'm
like
going to
it.
say
It sounds kind of
Consualia.
fun. Sounds like getting swaddled.
So that came from Consus, and it is said that Romulus started this holiday.
Okay.
Okay. Kind of a tragic story of why he started this holiday. Okay, so Romulus...
Murdered his brother, so far it's pretty good.
I know, right? Not a good person, just to let y'all know. He's hanging around Rome. And he and his hooligan youth friends, the boys, right, are together, and they're like, you know what we need? We need wives. And we need to make babies because we need to make Rome bigger. So they go to... I know, you're making a face. Daniel's making a face. It's not a good face. It's a disapproving face.
It's not an approving face. It's a, okay.
So they go to all the neighboring towns, and they're like, hey, do you want to give us some women? And what do you think the towns say?
No, you're teenagers. Please leave.
Ding, ding, ding.
This is weird.
Basically exactly what they say.
Go home.
So Romulus and his friends are grumpy now, right? And so they hatch this plan to host a festival and then invite all these people, like, the major noble families from these towns. And then they have a plan of what they're going to do,
It's
right?
a great plan, to be fair, because people love festivals in this country. People will show up for a festival.
They really do. And they did. Okay, so Romulus and his little hooligan friends start Consualia. And they invite all of the big families from these towns. And like you said, they show up. They love a party. They love a festival. And obviously, it's not just the men coming. It's not just the dads throwing out. They bring their
Grilling,
wives. Yeah, right.
Having a beer.
They bring their wives and their daughters and their children.
I assume their sons too at some point, but that's okay.
Well, they were included in the children part.
Oh, okay.
But the daughters are
The
the
sons couldn't
important
come.
part of the story. So Romulus and his hooligan friends are like, Romulus is like, don't worry, guys, I'll give you the sign. You'll know, right? So he gives this sign, and they start kidnapping all of the unmarried daughters of these high fancy families, right? And the families have to retreat because there's some sort of violence going on. I mean, it's unclear what the violence was, but it was scary enough that the families had to retreat and leave their daughters to be kidnapped.
Kind of interesting. Okay.
Okay, so they now have kidnapped these
Following
young
this
women.
line of logic, as difficult as it might be.
And some reports say it was, air quotes, only 30 women, which is a lot of people to abduct.
Yeah.
Any people to abduct.
Seems like a lot. One seems like a lot of people to abduct, but 30 seems like...
many. But some reports say it was up to 800 women.
This is like the sort of eyewitness accounts can't be that reliable.
Right. That seems like a lot to me, only because that would be a lot of people who came to this festival.
But also, it's a lot of people kidnapped. There's only 6 people. Romulus has
right?
5 friends. How many friends is he?
It seems like a small amount
It's
of friends.
1 to 1 is how you kidnap people, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, not even. You see movies, it's 4 to 1. To get somebody in a van, you need the getaway driver, you need the 2 people to get
and
out.
They didn't even have a van.
That's what I'm saying. So it's you need, they maybe got 10 people, I feel like.
So who knows? It was way too many people to abduct.
For sure.
They should not have been abducting people, but we're unclear as to how many women they abducted. They were pretty specific. They only wanted unmarried women because their purpose was to marry them and have children. They did accidentally get one married woman. Her name was, what was her name in my notes? Oh, her name was Hercilia, but they didn't know she was married. So that was a whoopsie.
Kind of just...
I'm laughing because it's horrible.
I feel like it feels kind of like a Guy Ritchie movie or something like that, where it's this bungling of mistakes leads to just... and you're supposed to be laughing with the entire time. I don't think there's anything that's just funny. This just feels really tragic.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So it's said that there was no violence that happened with these women. And they were given, air quotes, a choice of husband, essentially.
So kind of them.
I know, right?
Oh
really gracious. You're
really
kidnapped.
digging deep
You're
in
welcome.
there. Yeah.
Choose from any of us. And so Romulus is said to have gotten a wife out of this situation. And basically they said, you have full civil rights and you have rights to property and you're a Roman now. You're welcome. I know. But it seems like they were not allowed to leave Rome.
So it's still kidnapped,
Still
ultimately.
very much kidnapped, yeah. And the families, once they went back home, they were like, hey, we need our daughters back. And Romulus and his friends were like, no. And then there was a war.
Yeah, I'm also, it's kind of like modern day, like you get in the car, like you're all in the minivan and you're going home. You're like, we don't have a daughter. It's like, that's okay. We'll call back for her later. I'm like, they're all in the carriage going home and they're not like, none of them are thinking like, we should probably stick around to see if we could like figure out where Sarah is, because you can't just leave Sarah in Rome by herself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there was some sort of violency, like threat to the families. Like, you have to leave your daughter here, or kidnapping her. It's apocryphal.
That's crazy.
I don't really know what happened, but that's the story.
I think this is why nobody can believe a lot of Rome stories, though, because it's like, really, you came up with that one by yourself, did you? Because this is a terrible story. It makes no sense. You just start poking holes in the whole thing.
There's some holes in this story. So that is where Consualia comes from. So it is said. And that is where Ferragosto comes from. And that is where Ferragosto comes from.
I would watch a detective movie, though, about the detectives who have to hunt down and find these kidnapped women in whatever it is, 30
I would
BCE,
totally watch that.
Right? It'd be kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Okay.
That didn't add anything to this Ferragosto thing. I apologize. It's
sorry,
so off.
I was checking my notes. Okay. So in this festival that Romulus creates to bring in people, he's like, you know what we're going to have? People love races of animals. We're going to have animal races.
Races, okay.
Races.
Yeah, no.
Am I saying that weird?
I think you're saying races. My head keep hearing raisins. I was like, raisins? Really? Animal raisins? Really? Is that something we like? Races. Okay.
Races. So he's like, we're gonna have races, and that's where all of the families came. There's like, I'm guessing, drinking and food and animal racing.
What else would you do on a Sunday?
All right, and then all the families came, and then your daughters were abducted, and then that's how they populated Rome, according to this story. I know. Nathaniel's rolling his eyes.
Good
He
Lord.
doesn't believe it. Okay.
It's putting it mildly.
Okay. And so then, I guess another part of that, I think it was started in that time, was that the animals were given like the day off from work. Like, so there's some animals were racing, the others were like, you get the day off. You're welcome.
Were they getting paid for this? Like
No,
the work they were doing?
No,
So they didn't know
absolutely
it was a
not.
day
They
off?
just got to chill out and eat some
Okay.
hay for the day. So fast forward to 18 BC. We are there now with Augustus, and he loves horse races. He's like, we're totally going to have horse races. And ox, donkeys, mules, all those work animals, they're going to get the day off for sure. And they get to come to the celebrations wearing flowers.
Love it.
I know, so cute, right? And that brings us to today, essentially. The Palio in Siena, there's one
Sure.
on August 16th. There's also a Palio in another town called Porto Santo Stefano. And that one, I believe, is on the 15th. And they still celebrate the holiday with the races. I don't know if animals still come dressed in flowers, but I do know that is another part of other processions and things that happen around that time.
I think Siena has two Palios. One's in July and one's in August.
Yeah, so this one is the Palio di la Assunta. No,
Okay.
Yeah, Palio di Assunta, so the
Makes sense.
Assumption Palio.
Yeah.
Which is also related to, obviously,
sense.
Ferragosto.
Kind of like horse race. I don't really have something to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what else are you going to do in Siena? It's a joke. Siena's great. I feel bad because they have to, like,
horse races.
also, like, put all the dirt out on the Piazza
The
del Campo.
Campo?
Yeah, and, like, there's, like, fill it with dirt and then to unfill it with dirt and then to refill it with dirt. And imagine just filling up a flat area with dirt. That seems like such a job.
I know, but also people might think it's cool.
Oh, it's very cool.
You get that gets to be your job.
Oh, okay. If it's your job, I think it seems like it's like feels like one of those ones that's like when you're like, I don't know, mopping up rain outside. It feels like, what are you doing? You're just, I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, so now we are fast forwarding very far into the future, into the 20th century.
Okay.
So hundreds and hundreds of years, hopping right there to basically when fascism was happening.
Nice. Okay. So not widely considered like a super time in Italy's history.
Yeah, pretty bad actually, except for this one part, which is pretty cool. So silver lining.
That is definitely going to be the tweet of this thing. Is like Darcy defends fascism in Italy.
I'm not defending it. It's not a silver lining. It's just kind of oddly a decent thing that came out of a very horrible time and a horrible regime.
Fair enough.
Okay. I am not at all condoning fascism or Mussolini or anything that happened.
It's going to be real. Okay.
Okay. So, during fascism, 1920s and 30s, the Mussolini regime and, people during that time, they were like, you know what people need? They need a mini break. Okay.
They were not wrong.
I know, right? Fair enough.
I need a major break, but I'll take the mini break too.
Yeah, they didn't get that long.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they got the day.
Yeah. It was like 1 to 3 days, essentially, they got.
Okay. Yeah, mini is a bit of a stretch there.
Very tiny break from work.
Yeah.
And they organized, basically they were like special train fares. They were less expensive. There was like the 1-day fare that went 100 kilometers, a radius, you could choose anywhere in there. The 3-day fare that went, had a radius of 200 kilometers. And basically because of this, people who, living at that time who were not able to have ever seen the sea or go to the beach or see museums outside of their town, they got to do those things, which is kind of cool. Again, only for 1 to 3 days. But one interesting thing is that like food, there was no like food stipend, essentially. It was, which is only important to say because a lot of employers gave little like bonuses so that you could afford food for your holiday. And that's also where like the picnic style thing that happens a lot during Ferragosto, like going to the beach with a picnic, barbecuing, that comes from this time period because people would take packed lunches from home. Yeah, and things that they could make on vacation.
That makes sense.
Right? And that the sort of bonus thing has actually been in the, like a part of Ferragosto since before the Renaissance. I think even back to Emperor Augustus. It was like your employer, way back in the day, you'd be like, well wishes, employer, like auguri, wishes. And then the employer, it was like, to me, it sounds like trick or treat. You'd be like, auguri, wishes. And the employer would be like, here's a tip, give you some coins.
Good Lord.
So that tradition has come all the way through to the fascism era. And these people are now going on vacations. They're taking picnics. They're taking train trips. They're seeing art, like major works of art for the first time. They're going to the sea. For that brief moment, they are happy.
Yeah, for 1 to 3 days.
Yes.
Okay, just clarifying.
And that's kind of where we are today. Is it's expanded into the 2-week or month-long break where you travel and you go to the sea or you go to the hilltop and you take picnics and barbecues, which is a major part of it. And I think today even some people do get a small bonus from work, but it's not. I don't think it's as big. That's not as big as it used to be.
Because I think we mentioned in the previous episode, 80s and 90s seem to be really big for Ferragosto in the sense that like, just as that's when a lot of these major car manufacturers like Fiat and Alfa Romeo took the entire month off. A lot of their suppliers took the month off. The dealerships, everything that was connected to that took the month off. So it's kind of, and now it's again kind of not even decrease, but it's like, and it's one of those things where it's a more globalized world. So you how do you compete as a country that takes 1 month off? So I think it's a little difficult. So some places don't, but by and large, yeah, no, people still do because it's also kind of a great, like, I don't know. It's like, because in America, I think I'm thinking like our parents, like we got summer vacation. They did not get summer vacation. They now had 2 months of trying to figure out what to do with kids. So
it's like a morale boost, which I think is what the fascists used it for. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's kind of like that's 1 month where it's like that's no worries, and then you get back to work, and at least like, and because then then you have Christmas coming up in 3 months, and that's not like, again, we've mentioned in the previous episode, it's celebrated, but it's not like
it's certainly not as big as it is in America.
It really isn't. Yeah,
definitely not.
But it's interesting because I will say that's the same kind of thing though, where as soon as you get into December, anytime you get something that's like remotely official, everyone's like, well, don't worry about that after the holidays, and I'm like, it's December 2nd. After the holidays is January 15th. Can we please worry about it any sooner than that? And Ferragosto is like that. Between like July 25th and September 5th, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing official like happens. So it's
nothing
kind of
paperwork related happens.
Yeah, God, no. They don't want to pay paper cuts in that month. It's like a no paper cut month. That's fascinating.
I think that's their main focus, actually.
I think it is.
No
I've been told. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's fascinating history, though, Ferragosto.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is time now for my tinfoil hat theory.
Love it.
Okay.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so Ferragosto is celebrating the harvest, right? The Consualia was about the harvest. Sure. It all comes back to the harvest.
Love it. Okay.
Okay, and it was...
How are aliens connected to the harvest? That's what I want to know.
Crop circles, Nathaniel.
See, there we go. We've made a full circle here.
We've made a full crop circle.
Thank you all so much for listening. This has been Only a Bag. Sorry.
Okay, so aliens are not in my story today, unfortunately. But I can try to work them in next time.
That would be nice. I appreciate that.
Okay, so it's about the harvest, and it was originally on August 1st, not Consualia, but so we're leaving that
Ferragosto.
behind. Yeah,
Okay.
because that was, what was the word you used? The story
Apocryphal?
is apocryphal, right? So we don't even know if that happened. We're giving it to you today as if that is where it came from. But so, Ferragosto, Feriae Augusti, back when Augustus started it, that was on August 1st. It was to celebrate the harvest. We're like, great work, you guys. You've been working for a long time. Let's have a little break. Harvest celebration. Okay, go with me here.
I'm with you.
There's a Gaelic pagan holiday
Okay.
on August 1st
Okay.
called, I might say this wrong, Lunasa,
Okay.
which celebrates the harvest.
Okay.
And I believe theirs is, it's halfway between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox.
Okay.
And I believe it celebrates a coming harvest season.
So the September, October harvest season, I guess?
Yeah, but it's like the beginning of the new harvest, essentially.
Okay.
So I just think that there's a lot of things that line up the same day, August 1st.
Okay.
It's a celebration of harvest. And maybe that's the only two things. But
Seems
I
like it's
feel
tenuous, but I
feel
see
like-
something
but
there.
that has so many, that has like more actual connections. Not geographically, but that has more connections. So I wonder if
Do they have a year attached to the Gaelic one or no?
no.
Because I'm only wondering if it could be the other way around.
It could be the other way
Because
around.
didn't Rome spend some time up in the islands, the British Isles,
They did.
mainly fighting the Picts and the Gaelics, the
Yeah. Gaelish?
Gaelish? Yeah, I don't know
think
if the
that's how you'd
plural of
say
it. Because I'm wondering if it went the other way around. If it might have they might have brought it rather than being brought there.
Quite possibly. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, because
just feel
also
like
could
they're
have come
connected.
the other way around. Obviously, totally could have come from the islands. Because I'm also curious what other, I don't know what group would have been in France at the time. My history of that time is not super, but like Germanic tribes or French tribes or whatever it is, I'm kind of curious if they would have had similar. If everybody kind of realized like August 1st or around that 1st of August is a good time to sort of celebrate the next harvest or the end of a previous harvest, even if everyone has a similar-ish end of a harvest. Because I'm like, I know Italy has like probably, at least Sicily has like a lot longer harvest, for instance, than the north of Italy, which probably has a lot longer harvest season than the north of France. I'm like wondering if France makes like one harvest season unless you're doing potatoes and beets year round.
And every, like you're saying, every geographical area would have a slightly different time. But it does seem to me that there are many cultures with harvest festivals around August. And I just
Good
feel
point.
like they have to be linked somehow.
Somehow.
Yeah.
It could also be, my tinfoil here, that they could be celebrating somebody's birthday who's on August 2nd. And that's Darcy Melton's.
It's me.
That would be a really good way to tie that up, though. That's fascinating, though. That is I am curious if they're linked in some way.
Who knows? But I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there.
Hopefully, somebody who's listened to this is inspired to hunt it down,
Or you might actually
or
already
you might
know.
actually already know the answer.
Yeah.
In which case, you could just like.
If you
leave
do know
us a
the answer,
comment.
please let us know if you
Yes.
have the time, because I'm fascinated to know if they're related at all.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you so much for our history into Ferragosto.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I feel entertained and enlightened, or informed at the very least, if not enlightened, but informed. And that's
so
what's
glad.
important. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this type of podcast episode, or in the previous, not the previous one, but 2 episodes ago, I guess, Darcy did a fun dive on Aperol and Campari. It's something we've been playing around with for a while, is doing intermixing sort of maybe not historical episodes, is a not even historical episodes, just like interesting looks into something Italian.
Historical. That story was in the middle of that word.
Amazing. I was like,
It was
what
really
is
based
this?
on spelling. It's a visual
Is
thing
a visual
that I
thing?
put on a
I
podcast
need
medium.
I need to see it spelled out. I love that. Historical. Yes, no, but if that's something that is interesting to you, dear listeners, that's something that you would be interested to hear more of, not necessarily instead of our normal Italian information, but just sort of sometimes like we read, just like, like the Red Cross started because some Italian guy saw a war and was, or rather, I think it was Swiss and saw a war, and he was just heartbroken because he saw a war in Italy, and he was like, oh my God, started the Red Cross. And I'm like, thank you, Italy, for having such a depraved
crazy. I didn't
war
know
that
that.
you helped inadvertently start the Red Cross. I mean, they did nothing. They just left bodies out on the field. And then people were getting killed going for them. And that's when he's like, we need some sort of thing that can go in and take these
Was
bodies.
this
And
guy Italian?
he was, I want to say he was Swiss.
Okay. So the Swiss are the heroes in this
Oh,
story.
they are,
And
but-
fascinating.
It's because of Italians' lack of sympathy for one another on the battlefield.
Okay.
No, but there's stuff like we realized when doing interesting, like when I was writing articles for things, I was reading all these articles for different churches. There's a church in Tuscany, I believe, that has a sword in a stone, and that some people believe is the inspiration for the King Arthur.
It absolutely is.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
it's literally a sword in a stone. It's
believe
still
it
there.
is.
You could still see it. And some guy built the church around it, and you can still the sword's under a bit of plexiglass now, but it's still there. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. So I'm like, if that's stuff that you guys might find interesting, please let us know. Comment. You can reach out onlybagofficial@gmail.com. Onlybag.com is our website. You can leave a little contact us, put a little suggestion in the suggestion box. You can also just send us a message on Instagram, only_a_bag. But yeah, no, if this is something that you might find interesting, because it seemed like the last episode, the deep dive into Campari and Aperol, and I say deep dive, that was like, I mean, we could have gone deeper. But that was, no, it got just as many listens and just as much playtime as the other one. So it seemed like it was just as interesting.
I have fun talking about history
And I think,
as a non-historian who
100%
might
right.
get some of it wrong.
right. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Is this is, yeah, because I remember when I did the Capri one, and I'm like, there's so much history there. So I was trying to like boil it down. So I'm like, some of this might be not 100% accurate because I'm trying to boil it. Otherwise, it's too
Well,
many.
and like we said today, there's an apocryphal story that
Yes,
is
well,
like,
that's
who knows if it's true, but that's kind of where people say things come from. So
All of Italy's apocryphal stories, unfortunately.
that's true.
I'd love it.
But interesting.
Oh, it's
so,
fascinating.
That's all to say. We try to bring you the most correct information, accurate information through like our regular podcast, but as well as our history podcast. But we're not historians, so a few things might slip by.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
Fun history.
Fun history. So if that's something you enjoy, please let us know. I don't think we'd necessarily make a separate podcast out of it. We would just put out fun, more historical, deep divey episodes just for flavor, for interest, for intrigue, especially because I realize that when you're not planning your trip actively, it's still going to be kind of fun to learn something about Italy.
Yeah, always something fun
Yeah.
to learn about Italy.
I know. It's shaped like a boot. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's got a
Really?
heel and a toe and everything.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fascinating. That's history from non-historians. So thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a little rating or review or follow us. All of those are so unbelievably helpful, genuinely. Not only does it make us very happy, it helps the show, I think, on a
It helps
physical,
other people to find us.
helps
online.
other people to find us. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you enjoy this information, help other people also enjoy this information. And thank you all so much.
Thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you next Wednesday about hotels, right? And
Yeah.
B&Bs and things like that.
It'll be like our lodging month or something like that, which
Yeah,
is going to
that's
sound more exciting than that, but it's just because we just want to help people find good lodging, cheap lodging, and to not make any mistakes.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You'll still make mistakes. And so
For
will
sure.
we. But
Part
hopefully
of
it'll
traveling.
help.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thanks for listening.